The last exercise reveals the positive impact when you're the one bringing up race, because conversations on race change you, and they change your world. But a powerful force gets in the way, the power of culture we live in. We get so far as to say culture has conditioned us, but that conditioning is different for every person. What life has taught you about gifts of diversity, what life has taught you about pain of racism is unique to you. After all, we know people raised in the same neighborhood, in the same family, who hold very different beliefs and assumptions about race. It gets complicated because messages can come from 3 different places all at once. From the person you're talking to, there's a conversation happening with the different voices in your head. And the culture keeps sending powerful, conflicting messages. So let's slow down. Take a look inside and listen for the biases and the beliefs that make up your personal operating software when it comes to race.
You're actually having 3 conversations. One conversation is what's coming out of your mouth. The other conversation is what's happening where? In your head. You're having a conversation with yourself. Then there's a third conversation. It's the conversation that's happening in the culture. We call this conditioning screens. They make me, if I'm unconscious to them, they make me see people in a different way than how they truly are. And so I don't have conversations. Can you think of an example of a repeated message that we've all heard maybe through our lives, through parents, teachers, school, media, music, that you hear it so often that you don't realize it's influencing the way you see a group of people?
Yeah, all young black men are thugs, animals, killers, violent. And that right there is something that affected me in my life, because just the fact that people got this preconceived notion of black people, it unconsciously made me not want to look as black, you know?
Yeah.
So
you don't want to look threatening.
Yeah.
I would have to say our politics.
Yeah.
You know, you get so caught up in an us versus them because of the ideology and the repeated messages there.
Yeah, I may have the repeated message may be, as an example, that conservatives always think this way, that liberals always think this way.
Because of the history of World War II, where Japan invaded a lot of countries around it, there's like a negative perception of like, oh, like Japanese people must be war crime deniers or like that kind of thing, when in reality is not really the case for everyone.
You're speaking with someone that might have an accent, a stronger accent. People assume things about people's intellect based on just their accent immediately.
That's a great example of the repeated messages that we hear in our cultures. Historical resonance, that's trauma. Things that have happened to me or to my group that have happened in the past that still stay with me today. Let me give you an example. 9/11. 9/11 happened. It's a trauma that happened to all of us collectively. And now, because of 9/11, perhaps I perceive Muslims or people from the Middle East or people who look like they're from the Middle East as terrorists. That's a conditioning screen. And if I'm not careful, if I'm not aware of that conditioning screen, I won't enter into relationships or let alone conversations. Then the last one is current realities. Current realities are those things that are happening right now that may trigger historical resonance or reinforce repeated messages. I'll give you a current reality for me. I was driving somewhere in Georgia, pulled up at the gas station 11:30 at night, and there was a Confederate flag. This was a current reality that triggered trauma, that took me back to repeated messages that this may not be a safe place for me.
I'm just noticing how often those screens lead to fear, right? Like, oh, all Muslims, if they're not terrorists, then they're potentially scary, right? As a white woman, black men could be scary. As a black person, white people are scary. You know, these conditioning screens that are really so divisive.
Can you give us an example of a conditioning screen that has kept you from a relationship?
I can't. In college, so I'm in the dorm. I'm in a very integrated dorm. And so my white roommate and I are here. 2 black girls are across the hall. And in that little space of our two rooms, we hung out. But we weren't friends outside of that space. We didn't go to the dining hall together. We didn't go out together. We didn't go home with each other. And I regret that. What might have been had we not had these screens that kept, that were different.
I can think of one, and this one's, it's embarrassing to say. I went to a HBCU, historically black college, university. When we sat down in the cafeteria to eat, you'd notice that all the African Americans would be on one side of the cafeteria and all the Africans would be on the other side of the cafeteria. Years later, it hit me, it dawned on me, we're all a product of a conditioning screen. When I was growing up, I know this speaks to you all. When I was growing up, the pictures that I saw of Africans were pot bellies, flies, hungry, dirty, dusty, probably didn't smell good, famine. Those were the images I saw. So why would I be at a university and want to associate with that? That's it's hard to say that, but that's a perceptual screen that kept me from having real relationships with people that sat on the other side of the cafeteria, because I had this conditioning screen that they're from a different world that I can't even relate to and don't want to relate to. Now, when I became aware of this conditioning screen, I was ashamed, I was embarrassed, and went out of my way to start talking and getting to know people from African continent.
And it's like our conditioning screens are our first thought, right? Like, yeah, they're embarrassing. We wish they weren't there, but they are conditioned into us, right? So it's like the first thought. So we don't have to be judgmental of ourselves that we've had that thought, but we're responsible for the second thought. So it's like I have that thought, and then what do I do with it, right? It comes up, embarrassing, icky. Now what do I do with it? I'm responsible for my second thought. And we can all make a choice about our second thought.
Take a few minutes to quietly reflect and take some notes on the following 2 questions. What is one of your conditioning screens? What gets in the way of talking about race? Then in small groups, share your answers. In video number 7, look inside and find uncomfortable, even racist thoughts. We call them our first thoughts. We all have them, but we can choose new second thoughts, because new thoughts lead to new actions. To access the series, click on the playlist.